The shocking truth. Teen's dad is the U.S. Attorney General. You won't believe what happens next. In a quiet town where secrets brew like a pot left simmering too long, the unthinkable was about to erupt. Emma Hartman stood in her high school hallway, heart racing. Little did she know, her father, known to her as an ordinary man, was hiding a truth that sent ripples through the community. He wasn't just any dad. He was the U.S. Attorney General. The kind of declaration that could topple politicians or fuel a revolution. Gossip danced down the hall, flowing like spring water, twisting benign chats about prom into wild whispers of scandal and intrigue. Emma leaned against the locker, the cold metal pressing into her back. Around her the flickering fluorescence cast eerie shadows, and she caught a glimpse of the soccer team laughing, their carefree chatter contrasting sharply with the tension coiling in her stomach. Suddenly the bell rang, piercing the air. Emma felt the weight of dozens of gazes, curiosity morphing into judgment, their whispers wrapping around her like fog. Did you hear? The Attorney General's daughter goes to our school. The shock hung thick and heavy, baffling both students and teachers alike. Each step through crowded hallways felt like a march to the gallows. Emma could feel her heart thump loudly, reverberating in her ears. She was a target. A normal day quickly became a spotlight dance of scrutiny and confusion. The parents of her friends began to back away slowly, eyes darting as if she carried a contagious disease. What secrets did her father hold? Questions buzzed like angry bees. Was he corrupt? Did he know things he shouldn't? Was their town a safe place, or were they living on borrowed time? Just then, her phone buzzed relentlessly in her pocket, pulling her from the spiraling thoughts. It was a text from Kyle, her crush. Meet me after school. I need to talk. Just those words sent jolts through her, a mix of excitement and dread. Did he want to distance himself because of the chaos swirling around her? Or did he want to help her navigate it? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the final bell echoed through the halls, Emma's hands trembled. This was just the beginning. Shadows followed her, and every corner held a new ambiguity. Would she embrace the chaos or flee from it? With uncertainty gripping her, she walked out the doors, imagining the curious faces awaiting. Would they dare to confront her? Would the truth about her father turn into a dangerous game of cat and mouse? What would happen if they found out things that were better kept under wraps? With a heart full of questions, she stepped into the glaring sunlight, aware that life, like the world beyond her small town, was about to change forever. Emma stepped outside and the brightness was almost blinding. It felt surreal, as if the sun had turned into a spotlight, drawing attention to her every move. She squinted, scanning the crowd of students milling about, searching for Kyle. Emma! She turned at the sound of her name. Brian, a classmate she barely knew, was jogging toward her, breathless and wide-eyed. Is it true? Your dad is the Attorney General? Dread pooled in her stomach. Yeah, she said, trying to sound casual but suddenly feeling the weight of it all. Wow. That's huge. Do you think he's corrupt or something? His voice was eager, practically trembling with excitement at the scandalous implications. Emma felt heat creeping to her cheeks. I don't think so, she managed, but her certainty felt flimsy. What did she really know about her father and the decisions he made? Everyone's talking about it. He grinned, seemingly enthralled by the drama unfolding, clearly oblivious to the chaos it stirred inside her. You should totally capitalize on it, become like a celebrity or something. As Brian rambled on, Emma's eyes drifted past him until they landed on Kyle leaning against the school's brick facade. His expression was more pained than interested, his brow furrowed tightly. I need to go, Emma said abruptly, brushing past Brian, who was still stuffing his phone back into his pocket. What? Wait! He yelled, but she didn't stop. Approaching Kyle felt like walking toward a tightly wound spring about to explode. She noticed how his jaw clenched and his hands fidgeted in his pockets. The usual spark in his eyes dimmed, replaced by something heavier. Is it true? Kyle questioned, lowering his voice to a whisper, eyes darting around as if the truth itself could be a trap waiting to spring. Emma swallowed hard. Yes. He asked the Attorney General. But it doesn't change me or like anything between us. The silence between them hung thick, almost tangible. For a moment they just stood there, surrounded by chaos yet cocooned in their little fragile bubble. I heard some things. This could get messy, Kyle finally said, frowning deeply. Messy how? She felt a pit forming in her gut. There's talk about some investigation, something dark happening at the office. Emma's heart raced. What are you saying? I mean, people are wondering if your dad is involved. The kind of stuff that goes beyond just politics. Kyle stepped closer, his voice barely louder than a whisper. People could be targeting you. You could be in danger. The world around her began to shimmer with uncertainty. Was her dad a part of something more sinister? Emma suddenly felt the weight of the truth pull her under. What if the whispers she heard weren't just idle gossip? What if her father's secret was far darker than she'd ever imagined? Are you okay? Kyle asked, concern scratching his voice. No, Emma said, the word bursting from her tightly wound emotions. No, I'm not, and I need to know what's going on. Just then, a group of students passed. Their not-so-subtle glances aimed directly at Emma sent a thrill of panic racing through her body. She wanted to run, to hide, to escape the suffocating spotlight cast upon her. But where could she go? She looked up at Kyle, determination hardening her resolve. I need to dig deeper. I need to figure out the truth about my father and whatever this is. As shadows deepened in the late afternoon sun, Emma knew this was just the beginning. Questions spiraled in her mind, racing ahead like a freight train. Who could she trust? What did her father really know? And if she pried too deep, what might she uncover that could endanger not just herself but those she loved? Filled with equal parts fear and courage, Emma took a deep breath, ready for the next step into the unknown but not quite prepared for the answer that awaited her. What if the truth was more dangerous than any lie? Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she and Kyle stood in an echoing silence. The crowd buzzed with excitement, yet she felt alone. The walls closing in with every whispered rumor that reached her. She had to act fast. Come on, let us go somewhere we can talk, Kyle urged, glancing nervously around as if expecting someone to overhear. They ducked behind the school, where a group of bushes provided some cover from prying eyes. What do you know? Emma pressed, urgency lacing her voice. The closer they leaned to each other, the more the world outside faded. I overheard my dad talking at the diner, Kyle began, his hands clenching in anxiety. He said there's a grand jury investigating your dad, and there are rumors about your family being mixed up in something dangerous. Something illegal. Illegal? The word stuck in Emma's throat, a heavy weight. It felt surreal, as though they were discussing a plot from a movie rather than her life. What kind of illegal? Something about money laundering or something. Kyle's voice trembled, and Emma could tell he wished he didn't have to share this news. I didn't think he would actually get caught up in it, but a bunch of people are speculating. And there are threats against anyone who gets too close. A shiver crept down her spine. Threats? Like what? People have disappeared, Emma. I'm serious. When it gets messy, it doesn't just stay in the courtroom. It gets personal. Remember that girl in last year's paper, Hannah? She questioned the integrity of some local officials and then she just vanished. Emma felt her breath shorten. Hannah had been a promising student, smart and ambitious. The thought of someone silencing her scared Emma more than she wanted to admit. What do I do? She whispered, the words almost escaping her lips weaker than she intended. We need to find out what's going on. If your dad is as innocent as he claims, he would want to know the truth too. We can't just sit by. Anxiety coursed through her, mixed with the determination to uncover the reality behind her father's polished public persona. Right, but how? Don't you think my dad would shut me out? Maybe he'd be too busy hiding from his own demons, Kyle said darkly. You need to dig into the family's past. There might be more clues in your family history than you think. A sudden thought flickered in Emma's mind. Old boxes in the attic, dusty photo albums that her mother had tucked away. I could check the house tonight, she said, feeling more resolved. If there's anything, it could be there. Just be careful. If someone knows you're poking around, Cal stopped, his voice chilling. They want tea like it. Keep your head down. And don't tell anyone. She nodded, more frightened than ever but resolute. As they parted ways, dread settled over her like a thick blanket. She felt the eyes of the world on her, curious, judgmental, suspicious. Arriving home, she put her backpack down and took a moment to gather herself. The place felt eerily quiet. Shadows danced across the walls as the day slipped into night, amplifying her nerves. Cautiously, she ascended the staircase, each step heavy with unspoken questions. When she reached the attic, a shroud of dust hung in the air, illuminated by a single cracked window. The boxes loomed like sentinels, holding decades of secrets. With trembling fingers, she began to sort through them, heart racing as she flung open the lids, searching for anything that might offer a glimpse into the truth. And there, tucked behind a faded quilt, was an old, leather-bound journal. Its edges were worn, and her name was scrawled on the first page in her mother's careful handwriting. Emma felt a chill creep up her spine. As she opened it, the faint scent of aged paper filled the air, mingling with the anticipation and dread in her chest. What secrets lay in those pages? Before she could read a single line, a loud crash from downstairs interrupted her thoughts, shattering the silence like glass. Emma's heart dropped. Who was that? A voice, cold and commanding, called out from the ground floor, slicing through the darkness. Emma, we need to talk. She froze, the journal slipping from her fingers, landing with a muffled thud on the floor. What danger lurked in the shadows, and who was waiting in her home? Emma stood frozen, heart racing in her chest, the air heavy with the weight of dread. The commanding voice echoed through the house, a chill traveling down her spine, nudging her toward primal instincts to flee. Who was it? And what did they want? The journal lay at her feet, tempting yet dangerous, whispering secrets that could change everything. She couldn't leave it behind, not now. I'm coming, she called back, her voice trembling despite her efforts to sound brave. She bent down, snatching up the journal and clutching it to her chest like a shield. As she descended the stairs, each creak in the wooden steps sounded like a drumbeat of fear. She reached the bottom and paused. The oppressive silence of the house pressed against her. Anxiety twisted knots in her stomach. Emma! Now! The voice was sharper this time, demanding. With trembling hands, she pushed open the living room door. The fluorescent lights buzzed, casting harsh shadows, and there, standing in the center of the room, was a figure cloaked in darkness, unfamiliar. Yet the presence felt all too familiar. Who are you? She managed to choke out, trying to keep her voice steady. Your father's been keeping secrets, Emma, the figure said coolly, stepping into the light. A face came into focus, a man wearing a crisp gray suit, with sharp features and dark hair pulled back neatly. Fear knotted tighter in her chest as recognition hit her hard. Agent Collins? Her father's advisor, someone she had seen in countless press conferences, always playing the stoic image of authority. What do you want? Collins leaned closer, his expression unreadable. We need to talk about your family. And I can't stress this enough. It's urgent. There are people who will do anything to protect their interests, even if it means silencing you. Emma's heart pounded in her ears. Silencing me? What are you talking about? The investigation, it's deeper than you realize. Your father isn't just a U.S. Attorney General. He's tangled in a web that could bring down more than just a few reputations. Collins' eyes searched her face, looking for understanding. You've stumbled onto something that could cost you your life if you're not careful. The gravity of his words sunk in like a stone. You're saying it could be fatal? Collins nodded slowly, his face somber. People have gone missing just like Hannah. And your father's past might hold the key to why. You need to know now. It felt like the ground shifted beneath her feet. But I don't know any of this. He would never. I know what you want to believe. But the man you look up to has demons. You have to make a choice, Emma. You can either continue digging and risk everything. He paused, his voice dropping low. Or walk away and hope for the best. Emma gripped the journal tighter, feeling its weight, a potential Pandora's box. If he's hiding something, I deserve to know. I can't just ignore that. Collins stepped back, assessing her as if gauging her resolve. Then you must be prepared. You tread on dangerous ground, and I can't protect you once you step out of this house. There are eyes everywhere, watching for those who dare to look too closely. Before she could respond, The sound of the front door slamming open reverberated through the house, followed by distant shouts that echoed down the hallway. "Police! Open up!" The voices were urgent, frantic. Emma's breath hitched, panic bubbling to the surface. Was it directly connected to her family? Did they know something already? Colin stepped closer, urgency etched into his expression. "Listen carefully, Emma. If they find you with that journal, it'll be your last mistake. Get out a back window now." She hesitated, heart racing. The truth was within her grasp. "What about my father?" "Leave him for now. You need to save yourself first," he insisted, already glancing toward the door as footsteps creaked closer. Gritting her teeth, she turned, adrenaline surging as she raced to the kitchen. The back door creaked quietly, and she slipped out into the night, breathless with both fear and the thrill of discovery. Behind her, chaos erupted. The shouts intensified, beckoning like a siren call, pulling her deeper into danger. Would she really leave her father to face this alone? Emma glanced back at the house, the place that once felt safe now looming like a prison of secrets. A choice lay ahead, as vast as the night sky above. Before she could think twice, she ran into the darkness, journal clasped to her chest, pulse racing with the thought of what awaited her in the unknown. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one truth was clear: her life was forever altered. Somewhere in the distance, the sirens began to wail, louder and closer. And as Emma fled into the night, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being hunted. What had she unleashed? And would she be able to uncover the truth before it consumed her whole? The moon hung high, casting silvery shadows across the alley as Emma sprinted into the night, her heart racing like a runaway train. The sound of sirens wailed in the distance, a haunting reminder of how quickly her life had spiraled into chaos. Every breath felt sharp, every rustle in the dark sent her heart into a panic. She pressed her back against the cold brick wall of the alley, clutching the journal tightly. It felt like an anchor, heavy with secrets yet to be uncovered. She didn't even know what was in it, but she was certain it held answers she desperately needed. "Think, Emma, think," she whispered to herself, taking a steadying breath. She needed to move. Turning sharply, she darted around the corner and into another street. The silhouettes of buildings loomed over her, feeling like giants watching her every move. Emma ducked into a small cafe still lit from within. She could hear the muffled sound of voices, a bubble of normalcy that felt alien. She peered through the glass, her mind racing. How could she find out what her father was involved in? The once comforting world of her family now felt like a maze of betrayal and danger. If Collins was right and she had no reason to believe he wasn't, then diving deeper into her father's world could pull her into its darkness. Images of Hannah's disappearance flashed in her mind. Goosebumps prickled her skin. "I can't be next," she muttered, shaking off the thought. Just then a dark figure passed by outside, hood pulled low over his face. Emma's breath caught. There was something unsettling about his posture, an air of predation that sent shivers down her spine. Had they already found her? She leaned closer to the glass, heart hammering as she fought the urge to run. Suddenly, the figure turned, and their eyes met for a brief, intense moment. It felt as if time stopped, and the world blurred around them. His eyes were cold and assessing, and then he was gone, swallowed into the shadows. She glanced at the journal again. Time was running out. She had to figure something out. With shaky fingers, she reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. The screen lit up, illuminating her face in the dim light. It hadn't been long since she had seen anything resembling safety, but she had to contact someone, anyone who might help. Her thoughts immediately jumped to Kelly, her best friend. But did she dare involve anyone? A wave of doubt washed over her. Taking a deep breath, she began typing, heart racing with each letter. "I need your help. Something happened." Before she could finish, a loud crash erupted from the cafe entrance. The door slammed open and her blood ran cold. "Emma!" The shout echoed through the air. A voice she recognized: Collins. He was frantic, scanning the room. She ducked low, feeling the panic seize her limbs. A rush of fear clamped around her throat. They were coming for her. "Emma, we don't have time. Get out of there." Clutching the journal tightly, she moved toward the back exit. Her heart raced as she burst through the door into the alley. Collins was right behind her now, his breath ragged. "You need to listen to me." A sudden noise cut him off. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed, and they both turned to see a group of figures emerging from the dim light, silhouetted by the neon glow of a nearby sign. "Emma, we have to move now," Collins yelled, urgency lacing every syllable. With no choice, Emma followed him, darting back into the maze of the alleyways. They fled deeper into the night, her heart pounding in rhythm with the police sirens trailing in the distance. Their voices were distant now, barely engulfed by the silence of the dark streets around her. "Why are they chasing us?" Emma gasped, eyes wide with terror. Collins glanced over his shoulder, his expression grim. "They want the journal. They know it's more than just a book. They believe it holds everything they need to keep the truth buried." Emma's mind raced with the implications. She had stumbled onto something bigger than herself, a truth that could unravel everything. "What truth?" she asked, fear solidifying in her chest. But before Collins could explain, a loud bang echoed from somewhere behind them. They froze in place, the ominous sound resounding like an executioner-esque gavel. "Run!" Collins shouted, shoving her forward. They sprinted into the shadows, desperation fueling their escape. But as they rounded a corner, Emma stepped into an open space, breath hitching at the sight before her. A van, dark and ominous, full of silhouettes. Emma, Collins warned, eyes wide, realizing their trap too late. And in that instant, Emma understood. The truth wasn't just dangerous. It was a loaded gun, and the trigger was about to be pulled. What awaited her inside that van? What had she truly gotten into? With every fiber of her being, she knew one thing. The night was far from over. Emma's heart pounded in her ears as she stood frozen, staring at the van that loomed before her like a monstrous beast. The silhouettes shifted inside, shadows flickering with uncertainty. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, urging her to run, but she was anchored in place by fear and confusion. "Collins," she whispered, glancing back at him. His face was a mask of horror. "We need to move," he shouted, his voice tinged with desperation. Before she could process his words, a figure stepped out from the van, the moonlight glinting off something metallic in his hand. Emma flinched, instincts screaming at her to bolt, but she couldn't tear her gaze from the man now advancing toward them. "Emma," the figure called, his voice smooth and cold. "We've been looking for you." Recognition hit her like a lightning bolt. It was Agent Vaughn, the same man her father had once trusted. The same agent who had visited their home, whose smile now twisted into something sinister. Emma's throat tightened. "What do you want?" she shouted, her voice wavering slightly. He stepped closer, hair slicked back, eyes glinting with an unsettling calmness. "You have something we need. The journal." "You're in way over your head, kid." Collins shifted beside her, taking a protective step forward. "Back off. You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," Vaughn retorted, raising his hand as if to signal the figure still hidden in the van. Panic surged through Emma. They couldn't take her. Not now. Her fingers curled tightly around the journal, its weight feeling like a lifeline, a beacon. "You're lying. You don't even know what's in it." Perhaps this was her chance. A desperate gamble, but it might work. Vaughn smirked. "Oh, I know exactly what's in it, Emma. And that's why you need to come with me." Before she could respond, Collins reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. "Get away from her. I'll make this public." The sudden burst of defiance caught Emma off guard. "Don't be a fool," Vaughn snapped his fingers. "Get the girl." The shadows spilled out of the van, figures emerging with purpose. Emma's heart sank as she realized there were too much chaos. Fear gripped her as she saw them reach for her. "Run! Now!" Collins yelled. Without thinking, Emma turned, her body finally responding to the terror that had rooted her to the spot. She barreled down the street, the sound of footsteps pounding behind her, Collins hot on her heels. "Where do we go?" Emma panted, glancing back. The figures from the van were relentless. "Into the crowd. We can't let them corner us," Collins shouted, voice strained. They sprinted toward a gathering ahead, a group of late-night revelers spilling from a nearby bar. The thumping music pulsed in the air, and for a fleeting moment, the strobing lights filled Emma with a sense of urgency. It was a distraction, one more chance at escape. Just as she plunged into the throng, she felt a hand grab her wrist, yanking her back. "Let me go," she screamed, twisting and kicking. In that chaos, a familiar face turned toward her. Kelly. Emma? What the? Her expression morphed from surprise to horror as she recognized the fear in Emma's eyes. Help! Emma cried out, directing her appeal to her friend while struggling against the grip. Kelly grasped her arm and shouted, "Get away from her!" In the confusion, Emma was pulled free by Kelly's strength. She turned to Collins, who was still trying to catch up, but the shadows from the van were closing in, weaving through the crowd with purpose. "Come on," Emma urged, pulling Kelly to follow her through the bouncing bodies. But as they moved deeper, Emma felt the world shift. The pulse of music, the neon glow of life around her, couldn't drown out the looming dread that hung over them. Were they safe? Or had they just walked into a trap far worse than the one they'd escaped? The thud of her heart hardly drowned out Vaughn's voice in the distance. "Don't let them escape. They're the key." Emma's breath quickened. What did he mean by that? "Emma, where are we going?" Kelly gasped, her eyes darting around. "I don't know," Emma shouted back, fear slicing through her. She felt like they were running in circles, deeper into danger as they burst out of the crowd and into another narrow alley. Emma's chest tightened. She could still hear the searching voices, the urgency growing closer. The chill returned, wrapping itself around her as she realized the truth was now not just a loaded gun, it was a countdown to something darker. What awaited them around the corner? Would they ever unravel the mystery of the journal before it was too late? Emma's legs burned as they ran, but she didn't dare slow down. The shadows and the chilling sound of Vaughn's voice pushed her forward. "They're the key." What did that even mean? For a fleeting moment, she considered the journal again. The pages filled with secrets she didn't fully understand. "Emma! Wait!" Collins' voice tore through her thoughts. She skidded to a halt, spinning around. He was panting, his face pale, eyes wild with fear. "Are you okay?" Kelly asked urgently as she caught up, her forehead glistening with sweat. "I'm fine. Just what do we do?" Emma demanded, resisting the urge to glance back down the alley. "Find somewhere safe. We can't stay out in the open like this," Collins replied, wiping his brow on his sleeve. They dashed deeper into the alley that smelled of old refuse and damp stone. Emma's heart raced, each beat resonating with the desperation of their situation. She could hear the music fading behind them, replaced by the echo of heavy footsteps closing in. They needed a plan, and fast. Over there. Kelly pointed at a rusted fire escape leading to a small rooftop. Emma followed her gaze. It was risky, but would they have any other chance of escape? "Let us go," Emma urged, her instinct to survive overpowering her fear. They scrambled up the rickety ladder, adrenaline fueling their ascent. As they reached the top, Emma paused to catch her breath, glancing back at Collins and Kelly. The city lay sprawling before them, a patchwork of lights and shadows. But that view was short-lived. She could see Vaughn's men appearing at the end of the alley, scanning for them. "Stay low," Collins hissed, and they crouched against the cold metal roof. She peeked over the edge, her heart sinking. Vaughn was barking orders, eyes darting like a hawk searching for prey. She felt a mix of anger and bewilderment. How had things spiraled out of control so quickly? "What's in that journal, Emma?" Kelly whispered, her voice trembling. "I have no idea. It's just my dad's old notes, research he did," Emma admitted, but doubt crept in. Could there be more? Collins leaned closer, his voice low. "What if it's not just notes? What if it involves something bigger? What if they're after your dad?" The idea hit her like a punch. The U.S. Attorney General? Why had her father never mentioned this? Just as the thought crossed her mind, she sensed movement below. "They're coming." Kelly breathed, her grip tightening on Emma's arm. "Stay quiet. We can't let them know we're up here," Collins whispered urgently. Emma watched as Vaughn's men fanned out, each holding flashlights that roamed the area. Panic constricted her chest. Vaughn's voice carried up to them, cool and collected as ever. "Split up. Search every corner. She has to be here." She clenched her fists. It felt like a cruel game, and they were the pawns. Suddenly, a sharp noise rang out from further down the alley. Emma froze, her heart pounding in sync with the echo. Had someone else caught their attention? "Someone else there!" One of Vaughn's men shouted, running toward the sound. The others followed, leaving Vaughn momentarily distracted. "We need to move," Emma urged, her mind racing. "We can't stay here." But just as they prepared to climb down, A loud crash erupted from the opposite end of the rooftop, drawing their attention. Emma turned to see a figure silhouetted against the city lights. A woman, lithe and determined, was making her way toward them. "Emma, you have to trust me," the woman yelled, urgency lacing her voice. "Who are you?" Emma called back, heart pounding. The woman's eyes locked onto Emma's. "I'm here to help you. They're coming for you and we don't have much time." Emma's insides twisted. Who was this woman? What did she know? "Emma, we can't trust anyone," Collins argued, pulling her back. The noise from the alley intensified, and the shadows drew closer. "Get down," Kelly shouted as the sound of footsteps surged from below. Emma had to decide fast. Trust the stranger, or stick with Collins and Kelly. The woman's voice echoed in her mind. "They're coming for you." With an instinctual push, Emma took a step forward. "What's your plan?" Just as those words left her lips, a new scream erupted from the alleyway. Who was in danger now? And who could she trust in this growing web of shadows? Emma's heart thrummed in her chest, irrational fear mixing with an unsettling curiosity at the woman's words. In that moment, with the echo of a scream still reverberating in the chilly air, everything felt surreal. She barely knew the stranger, yet instinct whispered that the woman held a piece of the puzzle each of them had been seeking. "Time's ticking, Emma," the woman urged, urgency pressing against them like a storm. "Wait." Collins tightened his grip on her shoulder. His eyes filled with uncertainty. "We can't just no time for debating." The woman interrupted fiercely, glancing over her shoulder. "They're coming." Without thinking, Emma stepped toward the stranger. "Tell us what to do," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The woman nodded, her gaze scanning the shadows creeping closer. "Follow me. There's a way down from this side." "I know a safe place. Who are you?" Kelly interjected, distrust edging her words. "I can explain later. Just trust me." Before any further questions could be raised, the sound of hurried footsteps thumped loudly against the ground below. Emma's gut twisted. Vaughn's men were regrouping and growing more determined. "Now," the woman insisted, and without waiting for a reply, she darted toward the edge of the rooftop. Emma followed, adrenaline pushing her legs to move faster than her doubts. Collins and Kelly trailed behind. As they reached the side, the woman pointed to an adjacent fire escape that hung awkwardly, rusted but still intact. "Climb down." "I'll go first," she commanded, gracefully hopping onto the rungs before them. Emma's heart thumped painfully in her throat as she scrambled down, watching every move the woman made. She could feel Collins's presence just behind her, and she snuck a quick glance back at him. His face was tense, lined with concern, and she knew he understood the weight of this decision. They were stepping into the unknown. "Emma, we're going to regret this," Collins whispered, but there was too much fear in his voice for her to turn back. As they reached the ground, the woman led them through a narrow passageway, its walls dripping with moisture. Emma felt the darkness closing in, but they moved swiftly through the labyrinth of alleys. The woman's steady pace steadied Emma's racing thoughts. "Why are they after you?" the woman finally asked, her voice low but urgent. "It's about my dad," Emma stuttered. "He's involved in something big. Bigger than you realize," the woman replied, a hard edge slicing through her words. "Vaughn's some thug. This goes deep and they'll stop at nothing to get to him and you." The echoes of their footsteps were drowned out by the distant sounds of shouting. Someone on one of the adjoining streets yelled, and Emma's breath hitched. "Please keep moving," the woman urged. Up ahead, the passage opened up into a larger, dimly lit street. For a moment, Emma glimpsed a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. They could escape if only for tonight. A loud crash interrupted her thoughts as a nearby dumpster was thrown against the wall. The noise sent shivers through her. "Get down," Collins hissed, shoving Emma against a wall just as a flashlight beam swept their way. Heart pounding, she could see the silhouettes of Vaughn's men fanning out in the broad street beyond. "Now," the woman whispered fiercely, pointing toward an unguarded doorway. Just as they bolted toward it, the bright light flickered closer, and a harsh voice shouted, "They went this way. Move." Time shattered around them. Emma felt the adrenaline surge despite the cold dread pooling in her stomach. With a swift move, she pushed through the doorway, praying it was their ticket to safety inside. The door creaked ominously as it swung shut, plunging them into a pitch-black room. Emma's eyes adjusted quickly. "Where are we?" Kelly breathed, panic threading her voice. "A safe house. At least for now," the woman said, her tone firm. Emma felt the air heavy with anticipation, breathing in the dusty scent of forgotten memories. She could sense that whatever was about to unfold could change everything. "Who the hell are you?" Collins pressed, standing close beside Emma, his voice low, filled with a mixture of awe and fright. The woman stepped closer, her shadow imposing in the dark. "I'm someone who wants to keep you safe. But the truth might tear that safety apart." As the oppressive silence cloaked them, Emma felt a chill run down her spine. The weight of destiny clawed at her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they had just crossed an unseen line. "Tell us the truth," Emma whispered fiercely, and the gravity of those words hung between them like a knife ready to drop. And in that moment of darkness, she prepared for the revelation that could either save them or doom them all. What was this truth that could change everything? Again, the silence thickened, punctuated only by the distant sounds of chaos echoing outside. Emma's heart raced faster, each beat dancing to the urgent rhythm of their terrifying reality. She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever came next could shatter their fragile alliance and expose them to the lurking danger outside. "Listen," the woman began, but her voice faltered. Her eyes darted toward the door, and it was then that Emma saw the flash of fear clouding her previously confident demeanor. "Are they coming?" Kelly whispered, an edge of panic threading through her voice. "Not yet. But they will. This place isn't impenetrable." The woman's tone hardened, producing an urgency that made Emma's stomach drop. "Just tell us who you are and why we're in danger," Collins demanded, stepping slightly in front of Emma as if shielding her from impending doom. The woman took a breath, her posture rigid but ready to spill the truth. "My name is Lena. I used to work with your father, Emma. He and I were involved," and she hesitated, her expression darkening. "Something that went wrong. Very wrong." Emma's mind reeled, struggling to process the revelation. "My dad? What do you mean? What did he get involved in?" She felt a lump rising in her throat as every hinge of her world shifted. Was her father truly entangled in something sinister? "Vaughn isn't what you think," Lena said sharply, her eyes piercing into Emma's. "He's tied to a vast network that operates in the shadows. Your father, he was investigating something that could bring this entire operation crashing down." "What are you saying?" Collins asked again, protective yet confounded. "If this is true, then why are we in danger?" "Because Vaughn knows your father is onto him," Lena replied, a hard edge to her voice. "And he'll do anything to protect his empire, even if it means taking out your family." The implications clawed at Emma, twisting her gut with sickening dread. Her father, the U.S. Attorney General, caught in a web of corruption she never imagined? The truth felt like poison, burning her from the inside. "Wait, so you know where my dad is?" Emma pressed, desperation filling her voice. "I don't know exactly," Lena said, shaking her head. "But he's involved in a game much larger than anyone realizes. That's why I'm here. To protect you from Vaughn, who believes you hold the key to getting to him." Emma felt the walls close in, the shadows deepening around them. "What key? What does he think I know?" Lena's expression softened just briefly, revealing a flicker of concern. "You're not just collateral damage, Emma. You're a target because of your father's choices. The truth, you may not want to hear it, but you need to understand the danger it brings." In that moment, everything escalated. The air turned electric and weighed down by fear as the shadows beyond the door grew like a dark swell. A loud crash rattled their hiding place, making Emma jerk her head toward the sound. "They're here!" Kelly shouted, fear cracking her voice. "Get back!" Lena hissed, pushing them all deeper into the obscurity of the room. "Stay close this way. If we can find an exit, we might still make it out." With her heart hammering, Emma felt trapped between her desire to know more about her father's secrets and the urgent need to flee. Trusting this woman who knew her father yet had dragged them into this hell was a struggle as they pressed toward what felt like the only escape route. A distant shout shattered the muffled noise. "They're inside. Check every room." Emma's pulse quickened. Each step felt heavier, every breath more costly. They had to find a way out before Vaughn's men caught up to them. "Simon," Lena urged. "This way." Just as they made their final turn, a figure loomed in the darkness ahead. A flash of a recognizably cold face, lit momentarily by a sliver of light. Emma! The voice sent a jolt through her. Dad? A horrifying realization sank in. They weren't just running from Vaughn, they were running straight into a trap that had swallowed her father whole. And before she could brace herself for whatever fate awaited them, the door crashed open. Found them. A voice growled. In that split second, Emma's mind raced. The truth had morphed into a nightmare, and she was powerless against its grip. She turned to Lena, wide-eyed and panicked. Had they really just crossed the point of no return? Everything hinged on the next moment, and the question burned in the air. Who would betray them first? Emma's heart raced as the door flew open. Light flooded the room, illuminating the harsh shadows that had formed during their tense conversation. Heavy boots stomped down the hallway, and a familiar figure stood framed in the doorway, panting and desperate. It was her father, the Attorney General, looking both fierce and frightened. "Emma, get back!" he roared, his voice full of authority that had once comforted her but now felt utterly foreign. "They know you're here. You need to leave." The sight of him shook Emma to her core. Torn between relief and fear, she stepped back, mind swirling. Did he even know just how deep this entanglement ran? "Dad!" she cried, panic flooding her voice. "What is happening? Why are you in danger? Why didn't you tell me?" "Later," he snapped, darting his eyes toward Lena and then back to Emma. "We don't have time for this. If Vaughn finds out you're involved," he trailed off, his words thick with unsaid threats lingering in the air. "Too late for that," Lena hissed, pushing against them. "We need to escape now." Just then Vaughn's booming voice echoed down the hallway, sharp as a knife. "You can't hide forever, Emma. We know you're in there." A sickening chill enveloped Emma, and for a moment, all she could think of was the weight of the journal clutched in her hand. The secrets it held were no longer just about her father, they were life or death. "Go. Now!" her father shouted, and the urgency snapped Emma into gear. With an instinct honed by desperation, Emma took the lead. "This way." She darted past her father and led them toward a darkened back hallway. They slipped around the corner, adrenaline flooding her system. Every step echoed loudly, an uninvited metronome counting down to confrontation. "Where are you going, Emma?" Vaughn called out, his voice chilling, knowing his prey was so close. "I don't know," she yelled back, filled with a mix of dread and defiance in her heart. She could hear the footsteps closing in, menacing and purposeful. They rushed down the narrow corridor, and Emma found emergency exit signs glowing with eerie light beckoning them to safety. "Here." She pointed and darted toward the door, shoving it open just in time. Outside, a cool breeze hit Emma's face like a splash of cold water. She paused for a second, taking in the dark parking lot littered with shadows. "Come on," her father urged, scanning the area for threats. They hesitated, torn between escape and the lurking danger behind them. "You need to explain," Emma shouted, fear taut in her voice. "This is so much bigger than you." But just as her father opened his mouth to speak again, the sound of footsteps raced out of the building. "Emma!" Vaughn roared as he appeared in the doorway, and the panic surged in Emma. "Run!" Lena shouted, pushing Emma forward just as Vaughn's men swarmed out behind them. They dashed across the lot, hearts pounding like drums, but a bright light caught them off guard. A car's headlights blinding in the darkness. It screeched to a halt, and the passenger window rolled down. "Get in!" a voice yelled. It was Kyle, panting and wide-eyed, his face a mix of desperation and determination. With a flicker of hope, Emma dashed toward the car. They piled in, Kyle at the wheel, her father and Lena squeezing in behind them. "What are you doing here?" Emma gasped, glancing at Kyle, who looked determined. "I couldn't just let you face this alone," he replied. "I told you I'd always have your back." Before she could respond, the roar of Vaughn's men echoed in the night, pounding toward them with purpose. "Go," her father commanded, voice clenched. Kyle hit the gas, and the car lurched forward, wheels spinning on the asphalt. The chase erupted in the rearview mirror, the headlights of pursuit glowing like hungry beasts. "Where do we go?" Emma's heart raced as they flew through the streets. "You have to go back to the safe house," Lena directed. "We need to regroup and figure out our next plan." Her father shook his head, worry shadowing his features. "That's too dangerous. Vaughn has eyes everywhere now. We need to lay low." "Right, but how?" Emma cried. Out, desperation climbing with every passing second. I have a place. Kyle's voice cracked through the chaos. An old warehouse. It's off the grid. We can hide there while we figure this out. The warehouse? No way, Emma's father argued. But the decision was made when the crash of a police car echoed just behind them. Turn. Lena urged. Now. Kyle swerved sharply toward an overgrown path, leaving the paved roads behind with the police sirens dimming under the rush of leaves and the creak of night. Emma's heart raced with the thrill of the unknown as they drove deeper into the wilderness. The weight of the journal felt more significant than just the truths it kept inside. It was their ticket, a ticket to uncover everything they needed to fight back against the shadows closing in. Emma, her father said softly, a burden of gravity anchoring his voice. I know this isn't easy. I should have been honest with you from the start. The acknowledgement felt like a light in the darkness. You need to explain this whole mess, she responded, heart resolute. When they finally reached the warehouse, the shadows wrapped around them like a blanket, shielding them from the chaos behind. We have some time, Kyle whispered as they hopped out of the car. Standing by the dim light of the warehouse's back entrance, Emma took a deep breath. They were safe for now, but the storm was brewing and she needed answers. Let us see what we're dealing with, she murmured, clutching the journal tightly. And as they moved toward the sturdy door, built with secrets and shadows, Emma resolved to uncover the truth. She wasn't just the daughter of the Attorney General anymore. She was a force to be reckoned with, armed with knowledge and a fierce love for her family. The road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready to face whatever awaited them. Because in the game of shadows, Emma Hartman was no longer a pawn. This time, she was ready to fight back. If you've enjoyed this intense journey with Emma, don't wait another second. You need to subscribe right now to see what happens next in her story. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, so we can keep bringing you exclusive content. And I want to hear your theories and reactions. Flood the comments section with what you think. This is your chance to connect with the community. Don't just sit there, Sharpie this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. The clock is ticking and together, we can tackle whatever shadows await.